Welcome to Studio Green Bean, where inspiration grows. I'm Anna, and today I will be showing you how to make bangles and bracelets. I'll show you 3 different techniques of how to make them. You can mix and match to create your own look. Let's get started. Here's what you will need to make your wire bangle. Wire. I will use 20 gauge steel wire for this project. Flat nose pliers, wire cutters, a bottle or a round box to shape your bracelet, painter's tape, and a ruler or a tape measure. The first thing to do is measure out the wire. For about an 8-inch diameter bracelet, I will measure 8 inches plus leave a few inches to finish wrapping it off. So I will measure my wire out to 11 inches long. Do the same for 4 more lengths of wire. Next, we're going to secure the 4 wires together with painter's tape. Line them up, making sure that the 4 wires are all together and as tight together as possible, and secure them with the pieces of painter's tape. I like to prepare pieces of painter's tape from the beginning so that I don't have to let go of the wire before I can secure it with the tape. Make sure that you do not cross any wires. Make sure they are all together in line and as tightly and as straight as possible. And use the painter's tape to secure it at 4 different places along the length of the wires. I like to do it in fourths. Next, we are going to take our thinner wire and start wrapping it around the stem of the main wires of the bangle. We are wrapping this for structure, because eventually we're going to take out the tape, and then the only thing that will be holding the 4 wires together will be this wire-wrapped parts. There is no formula for how you want to wrap. You can wrap for longer to make a longer wrap, or you can make a shorter wrap. You can also make a messy wrap, or you can make sure that the wires are all close together. The only important thing is that make sure that you flatten the ends of the wires so that it is not rough when you are actually trying to wear the bangle. I like to leave the ends of the wire wrapped on top, or what I consider to be on top, away from the skin of the bracelet. Wrap it in a couple of places. This is where your measurement with the painter's tape comes in handy, because you can just wrap in the middle between the painter's tape pieces. If you wrap kind of loosely, you can use your pliers to push the wire wraps together. Continue this process for as long as you wish to achieve your desired look. Now that you have your wrapped bangle, it's time to bring in your round box or bottle in order to shape the wire in a circular fashion. This bottle that I am using is about 2¼ inches in diameter, and it works pretty well for a standard 8-inch in diameter bangle. Now, starting from the middle of your wires, bend them around the bottle to make them in a circular fashion. Also, make sure that the ends are also bent around the bottle. Now, pick your size. You can either measure the diameter with a ruler, or in my case, I am going to measure a bangle that I already had to make it approximately the same size. I am making the standard 8-inch bangle. You can use also another bangle that you have that fits well for you. Now I will take out my painter's tape pieces from the area in which I'm going to join the 2 ends of the bangle together. Basically, the concept is that you are flipping the wires over each other, crisscrossing them to secure the 2 parts of the bangle. You will most likely have to do it 1 wire at a time, because it is generally too hard to bend 4 20-gauge wire pieces all together. This also gives you a little bit more precision and a little more control about the design. Measure it again to make sure that your size hasn't slipped. As you can see, mine got a little larger than I wanted to. And repeat on the other side. Continue wrapping the two ends of the wire around the bangle in order to really secure the two ends together. Make sure that you keep shaping and making sure that the bangle is round and even throughout this process. Snip off the ends if they are too long for your liking, or as you will see here in a second, you can use round nose pliers to make swirlies or spirals to make your design a little bit more interesting. So now I'm using round nose pliers to curve in the ends of the wires, and this also serves the double purpose of putting the jagged ends towards the inside, the middle of the bangle, so that they don't scratch the skin when I am wearing it. As a bonus, it also looks pretty neat. It lends interest to the design. When you are done shaping your bangle, you can remove the painter's tape and put on the bangle, if it is for you, to make sure that it fits. You can also measure the diameter. If you haven't locked down the wire wraps, you are able to move them at this point. You can later also add more wraps if it looks like your design might benefit from it. You can also do accents while you are doing this extra wire wrapping. You can string a crystal on the thin wire and wrap it around the bangle if you so choose. Or you can do other decorative things depending on what you want to do. When you are happy with your design, your wire bangle is ready. To make a charm bracelet, you'll need the following: a roll of jump rings, a chain with a clasp attached to it, your beads and your charms, and also your wire. I am using 20-gauge wire for this project. For tools, you will need your round nose pliers, your flat nose pliers, and your wire cutters. Let's begin! To get started, first cut off a jump ring from your roll of rings. We will set it aside for now, and so we can decide later to use it or not. Now we're going to set our bead onto an eye pin. Check out our findings tutorial for more details on how to make eye pins and also the difference between eye pins and head pins. For this project, I will start out by making a very small loop at one end of the wire to secure the bead, to act as the head, and I will hang it from a loop that I'm going to make by bending the wire at a 45-degree angle, snipping off, leaving about a 1/4 inch of the wire attached to the bead, and then rolling with my round nose pliers in order to complete the loop. Now you can either hang this bead onto your bracelet by the loop that you just made, or using a jump ring. It depends on your preference and also what you want the bracelet to look like. If you use a jump ring, the dangle will be longer. For now, I will just hang it by the loop. Make sure to always open your rings and loops perpendicularly so that you do not deform the shape of the loop. Close the loop up, making sure that you are not leaving a gap so your charm will not split off. This is the basics of how you hang your charm. Next, I will hang this next charm that I made in the earrings tutorial. So check out that if you are interested in learning how to make this square shape from wire. And this time, I will use a jump ring to hang this wire work charm. Open up the loop of the charm perpendicularly and close it back up again so that you strengthen that loop. Now open the jump ring and slip on the loop of the charm and also your chain in order to connect the charm to the chain. Add on as many charms as you like and be creative in creating your charm bracelet. To make your wire-wrapped bead bangle, you will need wire, 20 gauge and a thinner gauge such as 24 or 28, a ruler, your beads that you want to have in your bangle, heavy-duty wire cutters, flat nose pliers, and a round box or bottle to make the form. We will start with stringing some beads onto your thinner wire. String them in any pattern that you wish. Watch this tutorial until the end to see how the pattern that I am stringing them on here works out for my bangle. After you have strung your beads, it is time to switch to your thicker wire. In this case, I am using 20 gauge wire. And now it is time to measure it. In order to make a standard 8-inch bangle, you will need to double that since we're going to double our wire to 16 inches. And I will cut my wire at 17 inches in order to add those 2 extra inches on the sides to make the clasp and to finish the bangle. So now find the middle of your wire and using the handle of something that is squarish, here I'm using the handle of my flat nose pliers, bend the wire into a C kind of shape. Make sure that those corners are fairly straight at 90 degrees each. Then start wrapping your wire that has the beads strung onto it, onto the wire. The pattern that I will use here is fairly simple. You wrap around once, you flip it over to the other side, slide one bead down, wrap around that wire, and then wrap around it again before going onto the other side. Next, I will string in 2 of the smaller beads to put them on either side of the big bead and repeat. Wrap around the leg of the wire, then go onto the other side. If your beads are sticking out on either side, don't be afraid to push them in so that they are exactly in the middle of the bangle bracelet. The wire here is pretty pliable in order for you to do so. Keep stringing and wrapping your beads in this fashion until you have almost wrapped to the end of your bangle. After you have strung all of your beads and you are almost to the end, leaving a few inches on one end in order to finish the clasp, go ahead and wrap your wire a little bit in more or less a random fashion in order to secure it. You can wrap it around both legs or just one of them at a time, maybe even repeating the pattern that you did before, and then snip off the wire at the end. Now take your round box or your round form and gently bend the wires and the beads around it to form a rounded shape. Now, unless your box is very, very thin, you will not have the perfect size shape. So use your hands in order to form the shape into a more bracelet-like shape. Now all we have to do is finish the clasp of the bracelet. Make some room for it at the beginning of the bracelet by pushing the beads back a little with your pliers. Next, bend the wires as I am showing in this video in order to bring the two leg wires together. Now we are going to basically make the same kind of hook as we did for our hook for the bracelet in the findings tutorial. Double up the wires onto themselves and use your pliers to gently bring them together as far as they will go. Use the leftover wires to wrap around the two wires in order to secure them together. Use your pliers to help you grasp the remainder of the wires firmly so that you do not deform the shape of the other wires while making this loop. Make sure that all jagged edges are really close to the ends or cut off so they do not damage your skin when you are wearing this bangle. The last part is to form the little hook at the end. I'm going to flatten the ears of the hook and use my pliers to bend them backwards. Finally, make the bottoms of the hooks come out a little bit so that it's easier to hook them into the corresponding part on the beginning of the bangle. Like so. Check to see if the clasp works and try on the bangle.
Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Leave us a comment to ask a question, suggest a tutorial that you want to see next, or just to say hi. We craft every weekend right here on our YouTube channel and on our website. Like us on Facebook and subscribe to our channel to find out what we're making next. See you next week.